having to worry about, well, I could do all this, it's basically a 2D object for the most part, except for the handlebars and the little pedals. But what I didn't want to have to do was the shadow. Okay? But I knew I already had a bike rendering and I wanted to redo it. And so I was like, you know, I bet I could just print this out on a piece of 11 by 17 paper, stick it on a piece of foam board, cut it out, add the width for the handlebars, a little bent piece of paper for the saddle, right, and some little pedals, and I wanted to play with the shadow graphics. Okay? So I did this model to get this shadow. Right? And then I painted over the top, and I got this. But look at the shadow. The shadow came from my study model, and so did the perspective. But everything else was redone. It was all re-rendered from scratch. But this was hugely helpful to convince you, the viewer, this is more real than it actually is. And that's an understanding of foundation skills and what cast shadows do to make an object look real. So there's the study model. And then there's the paint over. And again, here I wanted this double shadow. Right? But I didn't want to calculate that. It's actually a fairly simple shadow to cast. It was also a very simple model to make. So it's quite a cool project. I also do a lot of sculpting. So this is a clay, automotive clay. I'm technically a transportation designer by education, 23 years ago. And so I did a lot of helmets for several years. So these are half models put on a first surface mirror. And there's a painted one. And that's also clay. And then take those ones that were photographed on the mirror and get rid of the seam in Photoshop, and then those become my studies. There's really no drawing in bike helmets, like straight to clay. So it's really a sculpting first exercise. And then it's cleanup of photography second. Okay, 3D base underpaintings. Of course, this is like the basic. Yeah, so I didn't want to have to paint all that tire tread. Should be going automatically this time. And then that's the paint over in Photoshop. Okay, so you get something like that. And there's my base model. So there's no sketch. Actually, I take it back. I had a little side view sketch before I started the model. I always find it's most effective when doing vehicles like these to go in with intent, which means don't enter into the 3D program completely blind. It's always faster and more efficient if you've got a little sketch as a guide and say, this is what I'm trying to achieve. And so this is my intent. And I may discover something along the way, and I hope I will, but it's more effective if I go in with a rough guide first. So I had a little thumbnail sketch. And then I go back and forth a lot. So I block it out in 3D from my little sketch. And then I take the 3D and I go back to 2D, and I work out what I want to finish on the model. And then I go back to the model, finish the model. Then I go back to 2D and add all the weathering, right? Just by rendering it monochromatic, and then putting it over the top and erasing it. I get that. Because I never do 3D maps. I'm not too impatient. Just gotta like render it all tan and put it on top of